What is going on, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in to the and what they call it, the inaugural. I think that's how they say it. I say this. I say words wrong all the time. But welcome to the debut episode of the Space in Between. It is your host, Mature the Servant. I am here with a special guest. Okay, but before we do that, we gotta get into the two ways that you guys can be rocking with us right now. The first way is through the audio waves, right? That is through the Maturity Production Network, which is on all your streaming platforms, right? Your Spotify, your Apple Podcast, your Google Podcast, some granddaddy's old radio in the attic, all those things. You can find us through that on all those platforms. And again, the second way is through the YouTube channel because you're probably watching us right now. You're looking at me, looking at you, looking at me, looking at you on the YouTube channel where you can subscribe, like, and notify yourself to all the things we have on the channel, the different podcasts, the Not Very Mature podcast, the movies like Leopard, House of T. House of T 2 is about to start production soon. So y'all get ready for that. And then, of course, got to take some time to shout out our sponsor, Yaktown Don't Back Down, my homeboy Sean Pete out there in Pontiac, Michigan, 18 East Lawrence, Pontiac, Michigan. Go stop by the store. Get you some merch. I'm wearing the merch right now. Gardens grow silently. Y'all go out there, check out my homeboy merch. Go show him some love. Let him know that your boy Mature sent you. You know what I'm saying? And we will appreciate it. Now, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I have a special guest in the building. Um, when I was thinking about doing this, I've been planning this podcast for some time. Because I am very big on not just being entertaining, but also trying to enlighten and encourage people. And I know a lot of people have always, they call me all the time. We just talked about it. My phone be ringing, your phone be ringing. People always hitting us up. And so I wanted to create a medium where I can sit and discuss real things and real issues and real in-depth things that go kind of below the surface. And again, it's the space. It's called the in between because we're talking about the space between being, in your traumas and your trials and your tribulations, and then being on the other side of healing. And there's that space in between when you have to figure things out, go through things, learn things, develop things. And I think that's a great pocket where a lot of podcasts will talk about just healing and get your healing and get your healing. And a lot of times you walk away from it being like, okay, but what do I do? Or what do I do till I get to that point? Because healing isn't just an overnight thing. It's not always just a quick, rapid microwave thing. Sometimes it takes time. It could take seasons. And so, what are you doing that in between? And that's what this podcast was kind of created for. My guest, you guys, is the one and only Porsha Robinson in the building. Give her some love. Show her some love. Um, Porsha, welcome to the podcast. I am very honored to have you here. I don't take it lightly. I think it is somehow in the universe of it all, divine intervention that you had chosen to come on this podcast and be here, and I'm so grateful that you did. But introduce yourself, let the people know who you are, sort of some of the things that you do or that you are into, and just kind of a little background about yourself, as far as because I think that when I asked you to come on again, I was telling you I think that you have such an insight and a wisdom, and you like to talk about the in between spaces. And following you on social media and not really having a chance to get to know you personally, as much as I've seen like your posts and the things that you're about, but I have this understanding about, okay, I see the integrity, the character of this person. I can see what she focuses on, the things that she aligns herself with, which was perfect for this moment. But introduce yourself and let the people kind of know about who you are because I'm so glad that you're here. So
Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Yeah, I'm Porsha Robinson. People call me Porsche P. It's Porsche Robinson on Facebook, Porsche Out Loud on Instagram and TikTok. I am just an ordinary someone,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
extraordinary, if you want to say it that way. I'm someone who navigates life in a way where I'm always seeking to use my experiences to be of service in one way or another. So I'm a creative person. I like to do very artsy things. I'm a DIY kind of
Right,
person.
right.
I like to get my hands dirty and do a lot of different types of things. I'm adventurous. I'm a roller coaster person. It's everyone has their unique character traits that make them who they are.
Yeah.
Relatable, likable, not likable,
Right, right,
whatever.
right, right.
I definitely choose to use social media to express some of my thoughts, some of my experiences,
Yeah.
in a way where I can share with other people. It's really that simple. To me, everything breaks down to principles. And one of my principles is to do as much as possible to make my experiences worth something.
Mm,
I think we all, in one way or another, have a way of wanting to validate the things that we go through.
yeah.
And so my way of doing that is to make sure that I make it count for something.
Right.
I do feel like I have, experienced a lot in life. I do feel like I've had a very traumatic childhood. I do feel like I've had a lot to overcome in
Yeah.
terms of adversity. So, to be able to make sure I squeeze the most out of that as possible,
Right.
that's something I'm down for. So,
Okay.
conversations like these, they stimulate me. They allow me to find better ways of expressing myself and the things that can be of value to
Mhm.
others. And so that's what it's about to me. I think we all get busy, we all have jobs, families, but if we're going to take time out of our days to connect, let's make sure that's about something too.
Yeah.
So for that matter, I'm here. I'm down to discuss some things that I think are relatable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And if my insight in any way can be of service to others, then I think that's something I'm down for too. So
For sure.
let's get into it.
For sure. It only takes one. It only takes one person to be impacted for it for it to all matter. Um, when it comes to where you are now, obviously it's been a lifelong journey. At what point did you feel along your journey that this is something that you can start taking and using to help people? Because a lot of people go through their healing, they get their transformations, they go through those things, and then they just keep it themselves. They don't feel like it's necessary to share all the stuff they've been through. They don't feel like it's necessary to go all in depth and be exposing themselves after they've been through so much. What was it about your journey that made you say to yourself, at some point, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to use it to help people, and the confidence it takes to do that, because you have to put yourself out there and put your experiences out there. And a lot of times people like to contain those things and keep it close to the chest, especially the more difficult or darker or harder the trials or test was that they've been through. What motivated you and what has encouraged you to want to put yourself out there and help other people with your experiences and your stories? And then what kind of gives you the confidence to do those things, with some of, I'm sure probably even some of the more harder things that you've been through?
Okay, so um, on the first part,
Mhm.
I want to say it's relatable. It's relatable to not want to share your story. It's relatable to want to keep it close to you. It's
Mhm.
a measure of wanting to be secure, wanting to feel safe, wanting to feel like you own your story and your narrative. That's
Yeah.
relatable. And so we can be clear to say that you don't owe anybody your story.
Mhm.
However, you do owe yourself alignment. So if it's in alignment for you,
Yeah.
that sharing your story is going to be for the greater good or for your highest good,
Yeah.
and I think that you have a responsibility to do it.
Mhm.
But that may not be everybody's story. So I
Right.
think that you don't owe anybody your story, but if
Mhm.
it's in alignment for you, then you should do it. So
Okay.
um, that's where to me it comes from. It's not a matter of if I like to do it. It's to me, it's a responsibility.
Mhm.
Um, and then beyond that, confidence. It was never a matter of confidence to me.
Mhm.
Um, I think when we talked earlier about certain traumas
Yeah.
actually breeding skills that end up being useful later in life. So that's
Yeah.
one way that you get to appreciate things that you go through. Because with me, um, I didn't need confidence to share the story.
Okay.
It wasn't about
Mhm.
confidence. The principle of sharing what I have to give being a responsibility in combination with I saw how impactful it was.
Mhm.
I'm talking to people on an everyday basis. I'm not somebody who's always on social media talking to everyone. I'm
Right.
usually having one-on-one or, smaller, regular everyday encounters with people
Yeah.
that are able to be used as a vehicle to share and to help and
Mhm.
to, just support other people.
Yeah.
So when you're in these conversations and you're able to actively listen to what people are communicating,
Yeah.
you find out that a lot of people have needs. And if you're in a position to give it and you're holding on to it,
Yeah.
then what then that's a different thing to assess.
True.
Um, but for me, if I have something and I think it can help
Hmm.
and I'm hearing a need for it, why not?
Mm.
Um,
Oh, that's real. That is real. I think it's one of those things that I've always. I'm not a big social media person. I still find it difficult to be present in on social media because I'm such a in person because I feed off of the energy of just interacting with somebody in that proximity of closeness and being able to, and a lot of times I've had great, wonderful Lord have mercy, transformative, thank you, transformative conversations with people that it just happened as we were walking out the store, or it happened standing at a bus stop, or it just happened, being in line ordering food next to a person. Like it just happens that way. And I've never been one of those, um I'm online and I'm just like I don't know, sharing my thoughts and just throwing it out like that with no rebound, I guess. Whereas like it doesn't go to somebody and then it comes back with something else. It just feels so sometimes kind of empty. It's just like shooting in the dark. You just like bam, and you just leave it there and that's it. And so I think there's a beauty about conversation, and when you connect, when you're saying like there are times when I'm not even thinking of sharing something with somebody, but then again, like you're saying, there's a need. You can hear someone's talking about their pain, their trial, their subjects, and you're like, I have something that I know can fit, this conversation, and then you end up speaking, and a lot of people call it speaking into someone's life, and that's just what I needed to hear, and I'm like, I had no plans on doing that. That was not, it just happened. And so I think there's a beauty, and that's why I enjoy podcasting to a degree because it allows us to get away from such of the internet texting type of thing and coming back to ground floor level conversations and being able to connect. Um, we are going to talk about transitions on this episode, and transitions, growth, going through it. How do you handle those transitions? Before we do, let's talk about kind of both for us our transitions. For you, how have you handled transitions for yourself, and what have you learned about transitions and seasons that you didn't know before that you kind of have a better understanding of now that you're like, for me, I recognize this when I'm in a season or I'm transitioning through seasons.
Turbulent.
Turbulence. Tur- there was a I don't want to sidetrack so much, but there was once you said it, my mind just instantly went to like a database of something. There used to be this old hip hop Detroit show that was on like a random channel. Like if you had your antenna, you would get like it's like channel 36 or something like that. It was just a random channel, and they had this Detroit hip hop show, and it was called Turbulence. And the voice dude on the like commercial, they had these like commercials because it was a long running channel that just looped a lot of times the same stuff over and over until they had new stuff. But the dude would be like turbulence, 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 and it just be oh man. So when you said it like that, it just made me think instantly of that show. But turbulence, what does that mean exactly? Because I know on a plane. I
Yeah.
don't like turbulence
Yeah.
whatsoever. As soon
Yeah.
as I feel it, I'm like, I shouldn't be flying.
Yes.
I shouldn't be here.
Yes.
But go
Exactly
ahead.
that. Exactly
Really?
that.
Okay.
Exactly that. Um, Make no mistake, transitions are intended to be challenging.
Man, what? I gotta hit you with a okay.
Like, um, they're intended to grow you and stretch you. And who said that was comfortable? If I start pulling on your arm right now,
Hurting.
and your
Especially at
ass is
36.
running in here to
Hurting.
beat me up,
What you doing? Turbulence.
hello.
Yes. Yeah.
So, um, I think coming to a point of acceptance with difficulty
Mm.
and being uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's been challenging for me. I think that some of us are naturally indulgent personality types. I think we like our cookies. I think we like our cake. I think we
Okay.
like our music. I think we
Okay.
like our TV shows. I think we
Yeah.
like our cars and our. I think
Yeah.
we like what we like. You
Hmm.
know. But when you're in a situation of being uncomfortable,
Okay.
there's a level of awareness that's necessary, a level of adaptability that's necessary, a level of grace for the fact that you're going to make mistakes.
Mhm.
I think there's a level of humility with, how the relationship you have with your pride. Um, so
Ooh, that's deep right there. The relationship we have with pride.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
Ooh.
because when you're talking about the good and the bad, when you're talking about the light and the dark, when you're talking about um being aware of yourself and really being able to make proper objective assessments of where you are in your process.
Hmm.
Um Sometimes you and your ego, y'all gotta wrestle a little bit. You might have to put
Yeah.
them up in the trunk.
Yeah. Sometimes your ego puts you in the trunk. You be like, "Get your-"
Exactly.
yes.
So for me navigating my transitions, I struggle with them. I think like most people do.
Yeah.
I think accepting that I'm going to struggle
Yeah.
was the thing. I think allowing my ego to be like, what if I told you it's just okay if you're really not that?
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, at times your ego could be in the car, but you got to sit in the
Yeah.
you got to sit in the back.
Yeah.
Because you're doing too much.
Because your ego will make you it will take you to places that comforts the ego, but not necessarily you. And so you'll end up. It's like when people do things where, like in a relationship, somebody goes out their way to show up at the ex's house or something, and they like, "Eh," and they do it, and the ego feels great because the ego like, yeah, and then when they get back, they like, oh, I feel so stupid. I feel because it's like your ego has it got in the driver's seat. It took you where it gets satisfied, but not where you or your soul or your nourishment gets satisfied. And that's why a lot of times the regret part that we feel will come from a time when we probably let the ego drive or the pride take place. And it's kind of like why, they say pride comes before the fall, because before you even get to that place where you recognize, like, I didn't mess up, the pride is just like right there following with you, like, I know my bad. Like, and I think sometimes we don't acknowledge that pride and that ego, because I think we too, like you said about the light and the dark, sometimes we enjoy where the ego takes us because it gives us a power that we might feel in our weakness, and the ego gives you that strength or that power to kind of be like, you can do this, you can go on crazy, nut up, crash out,
Be more relatable. Let's
Yeah.
be more relatable.
Yeah.
Let's We can even talk about even how there are decisions that we need to make for our highest good
Mm.
in order to be in alignment.
Yeah.
But we know that those decisions will discomfort people that we enjoy being thought highly.
Mm.
And so
Sheesh.
it can be as simple as not making a decision you should have made because you didn't want somebody to be upset with you or for them to view you differently. It can be simple things. Like sometimes we put the things on such a macro level where we're talking about these big massive incidents that could happen and be realistic. Who is that happening to?
Right.
We got these big scenarios we're using as though it's likely to happen.
Right.
But how is it actually happening on a day-to-day basis? How is it
True.
actually showing up in your day-to-day life?
True.
So when we're talking about even reviewing those behaviors, making those assessments, it's in your everyday life. It's when you in traffic and they just slammed on their brakes in front of you and you just sped around them like a doggone Tasmanian devil and
True.
through the light that was turning yellow to red and you knew you should have slowed down and let it be a red, but you just kept on going because you had to prove a point because they had you up this morning.
They ain't about to make me late.
We could talk about just more relatable everyday
Huh.
things that happen in people's lives. We could just make it very simple because it is a measure of these itty bitty moments that add up
That's
over
it.
time.
You're right.
When you look back over your life and figure out what have you made.
Yeah.
And so I think just having the honest commitment to having this way of assessing yourself, and I call it observing your feelings without judgment.
Okay.
Because sometimes when we have an emotional response to our emotions, we miss the data inside of them for what the lesson is supposed to be.
Right.
We're too focused on the emotion of how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the thing that you were actually supposed to get out of it, you kind of overlooked it because,
True.
you know, so in those transitions, I think it's just, there's a level of awareness that's really necessary. Are you actually in a position to be honest with yourself?
No, that's real. I think a lot of times we don't be honest with ourselves because we rather. It's kind of like what I believe it was Drake who once said like he said something about like lie to me or whatever, or he was talking about a dancer lying to him or whatever and how it makes him feel. And it's like a lot of times we sit comfortably with not telling ourselves the truth or being honest with ourselves. Being we rather neglect the self awareness because of how the self awareness does not always, like you say, validate emotion. Where it's like I might feel bad about this or I feel away, but if I actually sit with the awareness of my feelings and I think things through, process it, I'm going to realize that I'm doing too much, or I'm sitting in this too long, or I'm not allowing my. It's like one person I was talking to a long time ago. I was telling him I was like, you've gotten comfortable with the identity that you've created for yourself as a victim, and because you you've attached yourself so strongly to this identity, you feel more comfortable staying there than actually coming out of it.
People will keep cheering for you as long as you're healing.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as you're healing,
Yay, you go.
keep going.
Yeah,
You got this.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. And I
when
think
there's a responsibility to say I'm healed, there has to now be evidence. There has to be there. You have to have fruit on the tree now.
bruh.
That's hard.
Yes.
If you haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, and I
So,
think
you
we
know.
put time on healing. Like people like, "Oh, you still dealing with that?" And it's like, yes, yes, I'm still going through it. I'm still trying to figure it out. Or yeah, I took some steps forward. Now, last few months, I've took some steps back. Like it is a process.
To what you said, to say that you stay in the victim mode, you have to take responsibility for disowning your power.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a victim. Now you have to take responsibility for disowning your power.
Mm.
And so I think that really understand the nature of things that you ask for,
Mm-hmm.
and understand that everything has a cost.
Yeah.
And understand that when you're going through something you've never been through before, it's going to be unfamiliar.
Yes.
And that's okay. Um, but to be in a position of owning the weakness, um, should be a more constructive act.
Okay.
And so in that, you go through periods of transition, and each time when you're collecting the data of these experiences, ultimately they should be adding up to something.
Right.
Whether you need to reach out and get help, whether you need to do more research,
Yeah.
whether you need to start over,
Mm.
whether whatever is the necessary steps involved. Eventually, there's progress, that should be happening, because progress is attached to human happiness. For us to be happy as humans, we have to have progress.
True.
When we start
True.
becoming stagnant,
Mhm.
it has a core response for us. And I think that's important. So just being aware that there's a couple, things that I've discovered across my healing journey for what's been necessary for me to shift my mindset around how I navigate healing. I
Mhm.
think that we get to these periods of time where we hold out validating ourselves until we're finished.
Yes.
Um, when I think that it's more constructive to consider progressive validation.
True. Because I think what it happens is we tend to feel like we don't deserve it until we complete it. And most times people make you kind of feel like you don't deserve it until you complete it. It's like no one cheers for you while you're in school, but they cheer for you when you graduate. And it's kind of like, so I don't deserve to be cheered for, rooting along while I'm going through school. It's not until I reach the graduation that people are like, "I'm so happy for you." Everybody all of a sudden shows up and everybody want to come out, but it's like when you're going through class to class for years and you're just by yourself on campus, there's not a lot of people cheering you on through that.
Well, nobody likes your idea until it works.
That's just true.
Everybody likes their idea better until it works. And then they like your idea.
This is very true.
You know, and that's not shade. Everyone should follow their own compass. Everybody should follow their own will. You
Right.
know, however, if I happen to be in an environment and I notice that somebody way is working better, let me holler at you, player.
Let me learn something.
I think you know something I don't.
Okay?
You like burgers and fries. You like seafood. You like Italian.
Because I need to take you out.
Like, cause
So we can sit down.
it's just coming up,
And
like,
we need
yeah,
facts.
like
Facts.
because for me, the education of what I need to learn and where I need to go is more important than my pride.
For sure.
I need to get where I'm going. You got something that's gonna help me?
Yeah.
I'm on you.
Yes.
What's up?
It's like when I was getting ready to get married, I remember asking every person that I knew, who I respected most. I mean, granted, but every person that I knew who was married, I was like, so tell me. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like I wanted to have as much information to be able to paint a picture that would at least guide me somewhat through my own experience that's not going to be relative to theirs, but will have some of the same looks and routes and detours where I'm like, they told me this. Like, and so it was like I remember a pastor of mine, we were on a walk for hunger. And we had to walk like some miles. It was probably like a couple miles or whatever. But the whole time I was just talking to him about marriage and everything. And I remember he was just like, "Is there anything else you want to talk about?" And I was like, "Not really. I'm not kind of in a place where I just want to learn this." Like, you know, and he just thought it was so funny. But I mean, I agree. It's like when you know, hey, you got something that I need to learn or I need to feed off of something that I can gain from to get to the next level. It's like pride aside, I don't need to have everything together. I'm willing to always be a student first. And then whatever I lead in or I master in or I teach in, that's great. But at any time that I'm not in that arena, I'm willing to always go back to student if it means I can learn something to help me get back to being a better leader or teacher or whatever, I do. So I definitely agree with that. That is so. And the other thing even that you said about people don't believe in your ideas or things until they see it is like I remember when I was doing filmmaking, when I started shooting films, I remember I had this big dream. I'm like, "Oh, we do this," and I started reaching out to people. You want to be in my film? You want to be in a film? A lot of people were like, "No," because I was not a filmmaker to them. They were like, "We've never seen you do this before. I don't want to be in a bad Tubi movie." And I'm like, "I understand. I understand. I understand." And I had a lot of good people who did like support me and were in my first project ever. And it wasn't until we actually did that people started coming back and be like, "I know I said no, but like you got something good." You know what I'm saying? And it went from there, but it was just like I remember the frustration of being like, "Why don't people believe?" Like, and then seeing people come back around, it was like, "Oh, it takes evidence of proof of something for people to get behind it and actually be like, okay, I see what you're doing. And I know I probably didn't at first, but now I see the vision for it." Because when you start off, it's only your vision. It's only given to you. You only can see the beginning, middle, and end of it sometimes. And other people who are blessed enough to kind of come in and they may see the beginning, they may see the middle, they may even see the end, but they kind of go with you along. But there are some people who just won't see it until it's complete, and then it's like, "Oh, this is what you've been doing the whole time." Oh,
And with your gifts and talents as a marketable asset, you have to then realize that there's a reason malls exist. Everything is not for everybody.
come on.
There's a reason malls exist. There's certain stores you go into. There's certain stores you've never been in and never will go into.
Okay,
There's certain
never.
stores that you've been into a couple times. There's certain stores you only get a couple things out of. When I go to the mall, I go to Hot Topic for one reason. You want to know what it is?
What is
They
that?
got the best eyeliner you have ever.
Really?
Oh my God.
Oh my God, the best eyeliner in the world.
Yes.
Y'all heard it, Hot Topic, best eyeliner. Because I go in there for t-shirts, but okay.
Like, I don't think I've ever bought anything else out of there until I had a daughter. So then things changed. There's
Okay.
alignment and
Yeah.
timing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now I have a 13-year-old who's into anime and gaming.
Yeah.
We in Hot Topic. We in Hot Topic buying everything.
I'm getting the eyeliner, she getting the anime.
Yeah.
Wow.
When you're talking about your gifts and talents as a marketable asset, there's all these different variables,
For sure.
now to consider. And so there has to be a piece about alignment.
Yeah.
If you're in alignment, there's divine protection.
For sure.
Divine alignment, protection. When you step outside of your alignment, now, okay, weird things get to happening.
True. Yeah. Yeah. Things start to go awry. Yeah, for sure.
What's in alignment with you will find you. And so in the way of just showing up your best, because if something is meant for you, it has to be able to identify you. If you're not showing up as you, how is it going to find you? If you're not home,
I got hit you with that. I'm sorry. That was a good one.
if you're not at home, how you
Yeah.
gonna get the package?
Sheesh. That's crazy because I just got a package today.
Now the
And I was
principle
like,
is different.
yeah.
Now, and it's not about who's buying from me. It's about, am I showing up the way that I need to be in alignment for what's for me, so it can find me.
Come on.
And that's important. So now it goes back to being self-focused. So
Sure.
now a part of my principle is that it's not about me always having this big, deep, wise thing to say to people when I'm talking to them. Ultimately, I'm always leading you back to yourself. What did
That's it.
yourself tell you about what you should be doing?
That's
What
it.
does your alignment look like? I don't know what that looked like.
At all. I have no idea. But I can
Tell me.
come on. That's real. And I think that's when for people like us who have so many interactions with people who I think they come to lean on us for certain things. It's like that is the main thing that is so crucial to those conversations is I don't really have, again, I said earlier, I don't have the answer, but I can lead you back to yourself where you can look for that answer, where you can take time to say, okay, what is it that you desire? What is it that you're missing or overlooking? What is it that you're not seeing? Come back to yourself. Look within yourself. Sit with yourself. Ask yourself the hard questions. But go back to you because you're the source of whatever you're pouring out, it's still coming out of you. So when you're like, this is pouring out of me, what do I do? Is like, well, find the faucet that it's coming out of and figure out what the piping and plumbing is with that. So that's such a true.
I look at it like when you in high school and you get your schedule and you compare your schedule with all your friends.
Yes.
Okay, we both got math class.
Right.
Get out. Okay, bet.
Mm-hmm.
I can help you with that. I'm good at math.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
You got me so and so. Okay.
Oh, you got band. This is my first year in band. I ain't never played no instrument a day in my life. You're gonna have to help me. You know what I'm saying? That's more like what it is for me. Like we're all students trying to figure this out. But if I happen to have the same little, hookup as you, this, that, and the other, and I got something I can help you with, then okay, I got that.
Yeah.
And that's cool. But when you're going through these different spaces, I think sometimes we find ways to disqualify where we can get the information.
True enough. Well, I was gonna say if you want to take that, okay.
I think sometimes we disqualify where we can get information. I think sometimes we take our autonomy personal. I think sometimes we want to navigate in a way that makes the ego in the back seat feel good.
Man, come on.
But technically, if I'm driving, should I be trying to hand you the aux cord and the charger and had pass you your bag that's up here because you left it up here from when you was in the front seat the last time we stopped at the gas station? You know what I'm saying? Like I can't be doing all that.
Grab this too. Like, yeah, I get it. Yes. It is
just, all in perspective. But like I said, I'm ordinary like everybody else. Yeah. I have a lot of experiences though. And I think that when I'm speaking to people, there's a huge desire for people to just get some assistance. I think even we can go and talk about, big bad COVID, and how it impacted, the sociability of everybody. I think we can go back even before that and talk about the continuous and gradual push for fear as a lifestyle.
Man,
Um,
yes.
and um, I think that rewiring the mind is an incredible task.
Hmm.
I think it's not easy. I think we have to give credit where it's due for people that keep waking up and still trying. I think I had plenty of days where I was like, you know what? I
Yeah.
would like to just submit to being a piece of shit because all this good person,
Listen.
trying and keep fighting.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know who this is for,
Hmm.
but no, I don't
But
want
no,
to do it no more.
I'm done. I'm good.
No,
Had enough.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm sick of this.
It's so funny. I said this on a song once where I was like, 5 days a week, I'm a real ass nigga. And I remember somebody I was riding with, they was like, why only 5 days? Why not 7? And I was like, because 2 days I might be shit. I might not be worth a damn 2 days I'll do it. I mean, 5 days, you might get good 5 days. 2 days, I could probably be all over the place. I don't know. But that is so true. That is so true. I think that I've come to a place now where I think what I struggled with in the early beginning was accepting or allowing myself to just be, where before I felt like if I wasn't happy, I just had to work through it. I used to say, get the people what they want. And because if I didn't feel good, I'd walk in the room and I gotta turn it on. And on the inside I'm just like, and I'm over here, and I would, and people would just be like, "Oh man, you were so this last night," and I'm like, "Man, I was so void and empty last night. None of you knew." And when I could have came into the room and been lifted up or encouraged, I just put on. I didn't allow myself to just be. And so now I'm at a place where I allow myself to be. If I'm having a bad day, it's just a bad day. And I'm learning to effectively communicate, hey, I'm having a bad day, so that I don't project that badness onto you. But allowing myself to be first will get me there. And I think that as someone who came off as a people pleaser when I was younger, learning how to be now in spite of wanting to always please a person, like that song at the beginning that I was playing, it's like I'm learning to find rest and to not be what you want me to be and to not do the things that you want me to do, and to allow myself to say, hey, this is where I am today. I'm having a great day. I'm feeling up. What up? We about to ride around, sun's out, buns out. I don't know, we out here. But other days, I'm just like, the world. I ain't got time. Please leave me alone. I'm moody. I'm in a funk. I will be draped, curtains draped in like this for the rest of the day. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Phones off, D&D, let it be. And even because again, with helping people, with the fact that we help people, there are times when people call, and I'm just like, I don't have it today. I know that you call me for help. I know that you call me for insight. And today I just don't got it. Or some days I just D&D and I'm like, I'm not taking no calls because I know I don't have the whatever to give them. So it's like I'm not even going to reject that person by saying I'm just not even going to take calls today. But I'm allowing myself that grace to be, because I think there was a time and period when I was like, nope, I'm just gonna be whatever. Okay, you want, hey, and jug and dive and but learning how to just be now, man, and just be free in that to and I encourage other people, like, don't put on. If you don't feel this way, you don't feel that way. If you're going through a season of transition and it sucks and you're down, it's okay to be there. It's okay to be there. I don't recommend you stay there. Don't build a house there. I always don't build residence there. But it's okay to take your camp and just make camp there for a night or two, because it's gonna be that sometimes. So
Yeah, yeah. That brings me to the first.
yeah. Okay, well, let's do this first. Let's go ahead and take a break. We're gonna take a pause for the calls. We're going to come back because Portia has 5 things that she's gonna share with us. I'm excited to hear 'em. She sent me the cliff notes. I was like, it's about to she go in there. So we go take a quick break. We go come back and we go get into the 5 things to help with transitions, going through seasons, growing through those transitions and seasons. It is the Space in Between podcast. It is Richard the Servant with my special guest, Porsha Robinson, or Porsha, she said y'all can call her. And we'll be back after this. are back. It is the space between podcasts. It is mature to serving your host with my special guest Porsche in the building. So Porsche, let's get into. Um, I kind of want to take a moment to promote this body butter that you got, but I feel like you said you don't want to take no orders, but I feel like I just need to let the people know if you just happen to want to shine and glisten, and my hands ain't never looked this good, and I'm telling you this as a man who I rarely put on lotion. Okay, this is just me being authentic with y'all. I rarely put on lotion. For my hands to look this, listen, hit her up, Porsha Robinson, on Facebook. She told y'all where to get her. Just hit her up. I'm not saying she go take the orders because maybe she might, maybe she won't. But I'm just saying if you want to get lucky, she might slide you a body, but I'm just saying, just reach out and say something. Just hit her. You know what I'm saying? Hit her with the keyword body butter. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to say. Like hit her with the keyword body butter. You know what I'm saying? Body butter me up or something. I don't know. Body butter for me. Hit her in the comments. Body butter. Just say that and BB. You know what I'm saying? And we see if she'll take some orders for y'all. I know I got some. She gave me some off the rip. I'm just drop in the comments BB body butter me up something I don't know and we'll see if she you know what I'm saying take some people's some orders. I'm just saying, but don't come looking and asking me. I'm not giving none out to nobody. So, but awesome to have Porsche in the building. Um, let's get into your five things for transitions, going through seasons, transition in and out of seasons. I'm excited to hear these five things you have. So let's start with number one.
All right. So these are in no particular order.
Okay.
They're what they are. Okay. um, I am. Yeah. Let's start with number one. So, number one is reparenting yourself. I'm also going to add in an alternate title:
Okay.
humanize yourself.
Humanize yourself. Okay.
Okay. I think that sometimes we navigate life. Um, Maybe sometimes with relationships that don't always provide all of the tools that you need to navigate life.
Mm.
And that's not for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Your path is always going to be your path. It was never meant to be that someone else was going to have all of the answers to your journey and your path.
Okay.
So, that being said, um, there are times where we have to um, redefine the relationship we have with ourselves. And we also have to learn to get what we need from where we can get it.
Okay.
And with integrity, understand that I mean that when I was navigating my path and my journey, um, there were times where I needed things and I didn't know where to find them.
Man.
Whether it was a resource, whether it was a direction, whether it was a simple answer to something, regardless of what it was, I didn't have it and I didn't know where to find it.
Right.
Um, and so learning to cultivate things um, is a process that we have to learn to submit ourselves to. Humanizing yourself. What it means is stop telling your kids you're a superhero. No, you're not. You're a parent.
Human being. Same as them.
What that means is stop trying to show up as something that's not a feasible experience. Be where you are in your process.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be where you are in your process.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily continue to disown your power by thinking something you need is in something or somewhere else that you don't have access to.
Right.
So now we have to go back and reorganize our core beliefs. And so um, it's a way of restructuring the rules that you live by, restructuring the parameters that you set for yourself,
Okay.
restructuring the language that you speak with to yourself and others. These are things that we typically would learn in a basic primal level from a parent,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so we end up going about our journey and having to reframe and reorganize these things in a way that's effective for where we are and what we are all to do.
True.
And so that's one thing. Um, reparenting yourself, humanize yourself, allow yourself to be fully present in each step of your journey, because there is data and information that you gain along the process that if you're being emotionally responsive to where you are in the process, you might be too distracted to collect.
By the emotions.
Mhm.
Okay.
Sometimes we're upset that we're not where we want to be. Sometimes we're
Right.
upset that, it's not working out the way we want it to.
Right.
You ever did a Sudoku puzzle and get to the last one and it's the wrong number? Then
Listen,
threw that book across the room.
I ain't even tried a Sudoku, but I have not.
You ever, okay?
I looked
there's
at him and
different
was
ways
like,
people could do it. You ever worked on a car and something didn't work out? You had to ever
"Oh
played a
no, for
video
sure.
game and you couldn't beat the
Oh,
big
for
boss?
sure,
You ever,
yes.
you know what I'm saying? It's,
Oh, yeah.
it's a million and one different ways you had this experience of,
Yeah. Just.
you
Yeah.
ever seen something that was supposed to be simple and fun unravel you as a human being, and now you're ashamed.
Feeling like you have lost your mind. And this was not supposed to be the way, not even close to how it was supposed to start. You're like, this is gonna be 30 minutes later, you are ready to rip everything apart.
Yeah.
What is it?
I gotta stop
Yes.
this. I know who I am.
Yes.
I'm gonna take a walk. I need a breath of fresh air.
I,
Come on, kids. Y'all want to take a walk? You go take the kids to get ice cream so you can feel better.
sometimes they make you take the walk. I'd be like, I'm gonna
Crazy.
take a walk on you. You doing too much. I'm gonna take a walk because I'm your parent. I'm gonna go over here in the corner. No, that's so true. Yeah.
You know, and even than that, I'm learning a different way to parent my kid.
Yeah.
When she throws a temper tantrum and she falls on the floor, I step over her and go to my room. You want to know why? Because you are going to learn to manage your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to learn to manage your emotions. You're going to learn that it's okay to feel how you're feeling, but you're going to learn composure.
Mm-hmm.
You're done throwing that temper tantrum. Let's have a talk.
That's so true.
But I'm not about to get down on the floor and squabble with you, trying to get you to act right.
Okay.
Stop doing that.
Get
Stop.
up. Cut it out.
I'm not doing
I
that.
see parents do that in the store, and I just be like, and I get there's a thing to in your mind as a parent about conducting yourself in public, so you're trying to get them to understand that as well. But a lot of times, I think it's the embarrassment of the parent to like feeling like all these people are watching your kid do this, and so you're just like, get it together, But it's so interesting. Yesterday, my daughter graduated from kindergarten, and so she had to do a speech on stage. She got up, and she's very my daughter's very, very, very outgoing. Very energetic, very just she will light up the room, but she also is very shy. At the same time, she likes to just kind of be she until she feels comfortable with you, you don't even get to see the eccentric side of her. She gives you just the hello, but once she get comfortable, then she like, you want to see me do this? No, she just did. So she got up yesterday to do her speech for the kindergarten graduation, and she just saw a sea of people, and we were in the back, so she couldn't even see us in the front to kind of like even see us there for her. But she saw a sea of people, and she instantly shut down. And she got super nervous, and she got to crying, and the teacher, pulled her off the stage and sat her next to her and gave her something else to do to help along the graduation. But I could tell she was super embarrassed and she was super emotional because in her mind, I'm sure she felt embarrassed, nervous, all type of stuff. And um, I know that there are a lot of parents I've seen in those moments where they get it together, get up there and do the speech, get up there. And she came over and I hugged her and I said, "It's okay, it's all right, it's okay, you're good. You did nothing wrong. You did not fail. You're fine. Are you okay?" "I'm okay. I was nervous." "It's okay. That happens. You're going to be okay." And even afterwards, we talked. I told her, it's okay to be nervous. We're going to eventually have to conquer that. But for now, I understand that was a lot of people. Yeah, it was a lot of people. I know. You did fine. And I wanted her to do, even, um, the teacher tried to kind of encourage her to, because my daughter had like 3 different parts she had to do. I was like, y'all really, she over here shining on the program. Y'all got her doing all this stuff. But at the same time, she was trying to get her to do her next part, and she didn't want to do that. And then she tried to get her to do the third part. She didn't want to do that. And when it came to all the kids walking across the stage, she didn't even want to do that. And I was like, I said, can we, what can we do to make you feel comfortable? If you don't want to walk, don't even walk. We're not going to to force your emotions forward if you're not ready. But if you want, all your classmates are going up, and it'd be really nice if you joined them because I think they want you to celebrate with them too. Because they were all asking her like, "Are you okay, Kobe? You're fine." And so the one teacher came over and she was like, "If I walk with you, would that be okay?" And she was like, "Yeah." And so she did it. She came across and I said, "You did it. You did it. You conquered it. You were so nervous to even be on the stage, and you just walked across it. I'm so proud of you because that is a milestone right there. Even though you didn't get to do all the other stuff they wanted, I know." And then even when we were here at the house, I told her, "Now, you were supposed to do a speech. Give me your speech." Because I still want you to know that that speech was important. You worked hard on it. You memorized it. Give it to dad. Let me hear it. And so she did her speech. And I was like, that's what's up. Because I understand that with parenting, I've been through it. I'm sure maybe you have been through it or seen it. Our parents and our parents before them, there was a strictness that came with parenting where it was like, you got to get it. You got to get it now. And so there was a rush to move past your emotions because you can't be doing this right now. They got you doing a speech. Hurry up and get up there. I remember my mom wanted me to take piano. That was something I told her. I was like, "Mom, I just don't want to do it." I was a kid. I was like, "I don't want to do it," and she wanted. I already knew my mom. She wanted me to take piano. She was gonna have me playing the piano every time. Christmas, Thanksgiving, go play the piano. I could see the future, but I was just like, that's not. I want to do it. And she gave me the grace to when I didn't want to do karate. She was like, okay, you did it, and now you don't. Okay, I was doing things. She was like, you don't want to do that no more. Okay, that's fine. And so I've learned how to take that with my daughters to just say, hey, you have real emotions. Your emotions are so real, and I think sometimes kids' feelings and emotions get dismissed because we take the point of like them not being fully developed as a way of saying you don't know what you feel, you don't know what you're thinking. But it's like, hey, these are real emotions. You don't want to do your graduation stuff, sit down. It's okay. Nobody's beating you up for it. I want you to sit in that. You don't want to walk, or when she did walk, I was proud of her. So I definitely agree with what you're saying about reparenting and humanizing yourself because I think for a lot of us, we didn't get that chance to be humanized or to be validated in our emotions. And so the way you just said that with your daughter about, because my daughter, no, she'd throw a tantrum, and I'd be like,
Yeah, I'll be looking at her. I'll be looking at her like,
"Eh,
wow, wow. And when she get it out,
yeah,
as long as she ain't hurting herself,
yeah,
she get it all out. And let's talk about how you feeling. Those are some big feelings you just had. Those are some
yeah,
big feelings. Like,
big feelings. You was going through it. Well, let's talk about all that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the kids, they have a way of checking you. You
Do.
know, um,
They do.
you know,
They do.
uh, and so the thing about teaching your children communication,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of parenting, when you empower them, you have
Mm-hmm.
to be prepared for their power.
Yeah.
And so there's a thing about reparenting yourself. And so when you reflect on that, even for yourself, when we reparent ourselves, we have to get, now comfortable with our power,
Yeah.
because now we're empowering ourselves in a way that now you have to be responsible for what you're holding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that pressure, that weight, often sometimes paralyzes people.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding the balance between understanding responsibility and the second point, which is permission to play.
Okay.
Giving yourself permission to play is important when you're reparenting yourself, because this is how you discover.
Mm.
And I think sometimes for people who grew up in environments that were not abundant, we didn't often have all of the materials to try all of the different things, to have an opportunity to discover what do we like, what are our passions, what are the things that make us come alive.
Right.
And so I do recall having some experiences in my childhood where I got a chance to try different things that maybe some other kids didn't get a chance to try.
Yeah.
I got a chance to go away to camp for a week.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Up north, and swim across the lake and do campfires and do
Right.
Olympic races through the forest, and
Right. Right.
all the little stuff. I had some different things. I didn't get a chance to play sports.
Okay.
You know, I had one season in ninth grade. I played soccer.
Okay.
Um, that was all the sports I ever.
She started and retired quickly. Just
you
yeah,
know,
one season.
just different things,
Yeah.
based on your path.
Yeah.
But giving yourself permission to play is important because when you're trying all these different things, and that comes with resources. You know what I'm saying?
For
Like
sure.
sometimes you got to pay to play.
For sure. Yeah.
So not for nothing, but
Yeah.
you do have to give yourself permission to feel comfortable with allowing yourself to play.
True.
You do have to be okay with being bad at something long enough to see if it's your thing.
Okay.
You know,
YouTube University.
School of DIY excellence.
Man.
Like like
Teacher. Yeah.
you do have to, try and fail and play and get dirty, and
Yeah.
that process is so sacred. I think we skip over it because we're too busy being serious adults, trying to figure out how to be adults. I was just talking to my daughter. My daughter is 13.
Yeah.
I was talking to her and I'm just like, I think I need you to understand that you're probably looking at me like I'm this grown adult person. I'm like, I don't think you know what it feels like to be this.
Let me tell you. Yeah.
I'm like, if they talking about you just fully all the way developed at the age of around 25 for the average person, then
Yeah.
I'm only turning 32 this year, y'all. I just finished being stupid. Like just a couple of
I
years
just
ago.
came out of it.
Yeah, like
I
that's what you talking about. Like,
You're right.
like y'all
It's
look
true.
at, I'm the parent, people
Me? Me. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So, I'm talking to her about how real this experience is.
Yeah.
Because I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Because I'm still in the process of understanding, what's going to be the most beneficial for my path.
Yeah.
And that comes with a few different lanes. We all
sure.
got different roles to play.
And it's to the point of like if it takes me 25 years to become fully developed and understand myself, and the experience of even raising a kid is completely life altering to the development you're already on. And if you're 13, I got till you get to 25 for me to figure this out, because it's gonna take, if it took me that long for myself, then for you it's gonna have to either take the same amount or even longer, because this is a whole new life path on top of the life path that I'm already on, trying to discover myself while discovering this for you. Like that, it is a humbling, children are such a humbling experience because they 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 remind you to play. They remind you to humanize in that way. I remember when my daughter was born, I struggled at first parenting, like 6 months, a year. It was so difficult for me. I couldn't grab it. It just was like something I couldn't really attach myself to. And then, God had told me, like, I was struggling with the identity of being a father because I had necessarily not had one. And the one that I did have was not the best example. So I'm grappling with this. And so, I had to go see my dad. He was all the way in Alabama. That was a whole journey and experience. And I came back such a better man and father for it. But I remember, I think around 2 or so, I was still shaking off the rust of just trying to get the fathering thing down. And I remember I was getting into her for something she did, and she was like, "You a monster," and she just started crying, and I was like, because all of my best effort just went out the window. I was like, I'm a what? Like, I have failed. Like, in my mind, I was just like, oh my God. And it was literally from that moment I changed the way that I started to present myself to her as a father. Like, the way I discipline her, the way that I talk to her, the way that I handle her, it shifted so dramatically because in that moment, her brain could only process that you are like something that scares me, or you are something that's like a monster. And I was just like, Kobe, I'm so sorry. Like, and I remember we were sitting in the bathroom, and I was like, I'm so sorry. And again, she just had a way of developing me in a way where I was like, I would have never known this about myself if it wasn't for you. You brought this out of me to see, and I thank you for this. Even you being two and not knowing what you're doing, you're helping me grow in this moment. Thank you for that. And so, I think kids are just so dynamic. How they, as we get older, we lose sight of the youth in us, and the youth kind of bring that back out of us to remind us what it was like for us in our youth, and how not so much carefree, but just how much more safer I think we felt in ourselves as kids than we do as adults. And so that was I think that was a great point that you were alluding to.
Yeah, yeah. And I think in the process of humanizing ourselves and giving ourselves permission to play, we're able to simultaneously give that to others.
Yeah.
We're able to be more gracious and forgiving with other people,
Hmm.
and help to reframe the way that we look at how other people navigate their own journey.
Yeah.
And so as we allow ourselves permission to play, that also gives us like permission to change,
Mm.
permission to shift into, a different version of ourselves as we learn, giving ourselves permission to shed the old skin.
Mm.
And so that's the next thing, which is shape shifting. You have to
Okay.
give yourself permission to leave that thing and
Yeah.
become something else. I think sometimes
Mm.
our pride wants to stay attached to an identity because,
Yes.
the change is scary.
Yeah.
You just like leave and take off one costume, put on a different costume, show
Yeah.
back up. And people like, didn't you just have on a blonde wig?
Something different about you.
you
Yes.
that's an uncomfortable transition,
Yeah.
but you do have permission to just wake up and be different.
And I think sometimes that comes from we've made friends, or we've made relationships or acquaintances, or we've built foundations off of old us.
Yeah. We want
So
people to be comfortable with our transition. We try to stretch it out
yeah,
and give people a easier ride into
you're
this
like,
new version of us
I'm
where,
changing y'all. Yeah.
like, yeah. But shape shifting is a thing.
Yeah.
You see how that look on the movies?
Mm-hmm. Mystique from X-Men. She be like, I'm blue. Now I'm a man. You're like, what? Now I'm another X-Men. You're like, oh. I thought she was the sweetest one because I was like that. The ability to do that is cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the permission to do that is like we take for granted this idea of time.
Mm.
If okay, let's say that finding your path and your thing in life and your flow is a numbers game. Let's just say for the sake
Yeah.
of shit, it's a numbers game, right? Um, however many times you
Mm.
have to keep trying to get it right,
Right.
and however much time you have
Mm-hmm.
to run through that many,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know that's the variable. You don't know.
True.
You don't know.
True.
So at that point, the second you figure out this thing is not the thing and I need to shift into this,
Right.
that is the appropriate moment to shift.
Mm. And people
Like,
don't.
That's uncomfortable. It's scary.
Yeah.
We want to do it in a way that's more palatable.
Yeah.
But sometimes we take for granted this idea of time.
Yeah.
Do you really have all the time? You know that?
Well,
So you
sure.
just be sitting around like, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna do this, and then next week and then next month and
No.
then like,
Today. Now. That's so true. So I was just telling somebody, it's like you have 4 quarters. If you look at every 25 years as a quarter, it's like you have 4 quarters of your life. I'm 36. I'm already in the second quarter. I have 2 quarters left. And by the medical standard of it all, my fourth quarter is not even a full 25. It's like 10 of that 25, right? So they're like, you might make it to 82. Like, oh, so I don't even get the whole 25 of my fourth quarter. So I have a quarter and some change. Like, it really puts it into perspective. The song that I just played, that's the first line I start off with. April 5th, 1989. That's the day I started losing time. Like, from the moment I'm born, I'm already losing time because my infant years I can't even, there was nothing I was going to do with the infant years. So it's like you're already in this idea of like time is passing, and as you said, when you realize that there's a shift that has to happen, you have to make it. I think a lot of people we see that are struggling, well off into the years, is because there was a shift and they ignored it, or they weren't ready. It was uncomfortable, it was scary, and it was like, I just don't want to do it. And that's why I think the phrase when they say people get stuck in their ways, I just think that that's really what that is you're not really, it's not being stuck in your ways, it's just you got stuck in the transition part and you never transitioned, you never went from selfish to unselfish. Now you're 52, you're 50 something, you're selfish. People are like, that's just dumb. And it's like, nah, there was a transition they missed where they probably got an opportunity to grow from that and they just didn't. And transitions are scary. They are very, because they cause you to have to go into an unknown. You're stepping into an unknown. I don't know who this new me is going to be. I don't know what this new me is going to do or to like. I don't know. You know, even in marriage, that's something we've discussed is who we were when we first got married are not who we are now. The things that I used to like back then, I don't like now. The things that I used to do, I don't do now. So I'm relearning you over and over. My dad, one of my spiritual fathers, he always says that he's in class for his wife's name Camille. He says I'm always in Camilleology every day because he's constantly having to learn this new her that wakes up next to him every day. It's not the same woman, and so I think when we embrace that and say, okay, cool, I'm changing. I have to let other people change with me because my transition affects everyone else. People are going to have to see this new me. They're going to have to embrace this new me. So I have to bring you guys with me into my transition. And again, that can be scary because sometimes we wonder, will they love me if I change? Can they love me if I'm not the same person that I used to be? I remember that was something hard for me. I used to wonder, okay, if I change and I start doing these things or I start, will the people who I rock with over, are they going to come with me? And sometimes that transitions lets you know, nope, that season with those people are over. Sometimes that transitions lets you see how to bring them with you. But it's the unknown of it all that I think kind of freezes us in place. But continue.
Yeah, yeah. I think that sometimes we struggle with shedding old identities in a way that
Mm.
we grew up in a culture that's grounded in this idea of loyalty and staying
Mm.
down, and staying the same and being reliable,
Yeah.
consistent, in that way. And so, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be like, yeah, I've been this,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's like embedded in how we
Day
like,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
like we have this thing where um it can be a way of suppressing the creativity of becoming something different.
Okay.
Um, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'm just like very aloof when it comes to that,
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm just kind of like, I don't know if it's a I don't really care kind of thing. I don't
Okay.
know. It just seems kind of like a far out thought to me
Yeah.
about the idea of um, wanting to do all these different, like changing into all these different things. Like
Mm-hmm.
um, okay, so I went to Arizona. I was there for almost about 4 years.
Okay.
Um, I really like being there. The difference in my life there to here is like it's weird. It's actually weird. It's kind of surreal. It's like I went to sleep and I was in a dream, and I
Mm-hmm.
woke back up back in my regular life.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
it was kind of like a weird
Yeah.
thing where it's
Yeah.
just like I was there for this amount of time,
Yeah.
just long enough to really establish a completely different like
Okay.
timeline.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, when I came back here, the turbulence of um,
That turbulence. That turbulence. Okay.
I'm looking around like, what the like,
Okay. So this is what it is, huh? Okay. Yeah.
there were so many different new realizations, so many different
Mm-hmm.
just moments of synchronicity, of clarity,
Mm-hmm.
of confusion,
Right.
of I had to learn so many different sides of myself at one time.
Mm.
It was a very just unsettling.
Okay.
It was like I don't know what it is to step halfway out of one body and halfway into another.
Okay.
Like I don't know I don't know how to describe that experience where it's in this way of like you're not quite in this, but you're not quite in that.
For sure.
You're not just like you're in this in between.
Yeah.
So when I found myself in that space, I had to come back to the concept of recreating the avatar I wanted to exist in.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go back to an old version of yourself. There is no old you to go back to. You can only integrate it into a future you. That's all you can do. So
I'll just go. We gonna clap for that because that's yes. Yes.
like that's what you can
Yeah.
do. There's no old you to go back to.
Facts.
You could turn around and it's just like in the background, flames.
Yeah, it's all good.
The flying planes
Yeah.
are on fire, plummeting to
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
chaos, pandemonium.
All of that.
I found joy in relinquishing what was behind me
Yeah.
in this way where it was a weight lifted.
Mm-hmm.
To get in the state of being able to play again, to get in the state of being able to shapeshift, to get in the state of being able to identify what my own needs are and give them to myself. But the idea of being able to have the ability to empower yourself to go about the resources you need for your own self, to be able to cultivate your own journey and your own path. All these different skills that you cultivate along the way come behind trust in the process. It comes behind allowing yourself to see yourself in that way. Like you ever like how people look in the mirror for a long time until it look like you don't looking at yourself no more.
Yes.
People don't like talk about doing that.
Just staring. Just
you're just looking.
just looking. And I've tried this before because I was like, in my mind, I said, "There's no way that this is possible." Where I'm gonna just keep looking,
I'm me.
and then
who are you?
Listen, I didn't look at that one. And was like, it is just me in this bathroom, right? Okay, because who is you? No, that's real. That is so honest. Yes.
Yeah. Eerie.
Very.
And so modeling that for your children too.
Yeah.
Like allowing them to see you have the courage to try different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very important. So that brings me to the next thing.
Yes. Point number 4, right?
Yeah. Forgiving the warrior, survivor's guilt. It's hard for us to excuse or forgive the previous versions of ourselves that got us through whatever we went through.
Right.
We are in such seeking and yearning to be this new, improved, and empowered, 2.0, rebrand, how about who is you? You know what I'm saying? Like, you talking about you was in the mirror like this. Who is you? Now you popping out like, who is you?
Exactly.
You know
exactly.
Like, we go into this state of yearning to be this new and improved version of ourselves where it's like we almost sometimes demonize or weaponize previous versions of ourselves as an enemy almost.
Yeah.
And dare I speak on this, but a lot of times us as Black people, we have this habit of needing an adversary in order for us to empower ourselves to get enough to go after the thing truly.
Yeah.
A lot of times we have not learned how to do it out of self-love.
Yeah.
We haven't learned how to do it out of self-validation. We
sure.
need an adversary for us to be like, you know what?
Yeah. They forced me to get to this point. Yeah. My enemies, my haters, right.
I be working, I told you, like, I work in a plant, I be at work and they be like, yeah, man, they be doing this to us and they be treating us like this. I'm like, who are you talking about? Are you talking about the white man that hired you or the one that signed your check? Which one are you talking about is against you?
Who is the they?
Who is it?
We always create they.
You keep saying this.
There's always a they.
The plan works exactly how it was designed to work. You
Right.
signed up here.
Yeah.
You signed up here. You signed your name on a dotted line. And how invaluable is your signature on a dotted line if you don't even know what you signed your name away to, that you walked into something unaware of what you agreed to do
sure.
and are upset that they're asking you to deliver on what you agreed to do.
Right. And that the system is working the way that it was built to work.
It does.
Like you hate the system for what it is.
With that.
The system is actually working fine.
Yes.
That's how they want the system. You're mad that you're in the system.
Yeah.
But that's what like you just said, you signed up for the system not knowing what the system is not the problem because the system is working exactly how it was designed. Exactly.
So you can be upset that you're in this environment. That's valid.
Sure. Yeah.
You could be upset that you need this environment at this time in your life to get done whatever you need to get done. That's
Yeah.
valid. You could be upset that the variables and the necessary resources and skills, resources and skills are a little bit out of your reach right now. You can be upset about all those things. That's valid.
Right.
But then when you're done being upset, first of all, how long are you gonna take doing that?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're done,
Right.
then what's next?
Because you have to be done.
Then what's next?
Then what's next?
And that's just life. I'm not, all talking about the planet at this point. That's some
Right.
people life it ain't. Some people in there cool. Some people ain't.
Right.
That ain't about that. But just to realize in the grand scope of life, to empower yourself and your own choices,
Mm-hmm.
to understand that whatever you felt you needed to do in that season to get you where you are, that version of you got you to where you are now.
For sure. For sure. Even the bad version.
Yeah, and I'm not saying excuse accountability for what you
sure.
needed to improve. I'm simply saying that at the end of the day, we spend so much time upset, looking backward,
Yeah.
that we miss out on the creative opportunity to write what's next. You have the ability to own your narrative. You have the ability to write what comes next in the story. But if you're too busy worried about what's already written, that's just gonna be the story until you run out of pages.
For sure.
That's just gonna be the story. And how long do you want to be a victim?
Right.
The thing about, this whole idea of being a warrior for whatever it is that you're overcoming in your life, whatever is that
Right.
metaphorical thing for you to overcome, your mountain,
Right.
that thing in your life, at some point, your relationship with it is going to be a reflection of your life story and your narrative.
Yes.
So then it's a matter of choices. It's a matter of everything costs something, but
Mhm.
you get to a point where you do need to forgive the version of you that got you to where you are.
Right.
So that's something that I had to come to terms with, because when you're ignorant, you do stupid shit. like, like, like,
1 + 1 = 2. Yes. Yeah.
And so it's not for the sake of imposter syndrome, to just
Right.
walk away acting like you ain't ever did nothing wrong and everything is
Sure.
peaches and cream. You deserve everything in the world, and everybody's doing something to you, and you ain't never did nothing wrong.
Which is crazy.
First of all,
but yes. It's not the way. Not everybody is just waking up with the. Did you get your agenda on how to run their life? They told me to post hate.
yes.
What you gonna do to her? Like no, we all don't have assignments waking up to do something to you. Yeah, and I think that is it is so crucial, because I spend a lot of time trying to remind people sometimes that you do not, though you may feel this way, even because some people, they just feel it. Oh, everybody's after me, everybody. And I say, but you still have to choose to even entertain that. Like, that does not have to be the source in which you give energy to. You can move away from that. If you feel like everything is just this person talking about me, this person after me, this person hating, this person at my job is like this is my homegirl acting like this, my homeboy acting like this, like, I don't have to feed into those things either, though. Like, and again, that's where the victim mentality of like, oh, see, woe is me.
And it's not always negative. Sometimes
It's not
it's just a
always negative.
misalignment.
That's it.
Just a misalignment. People get to decide what they want their narrative to be too. They get
Yeah.
to write their story too.
Yeah.
And when people are going through their own transformations, it's like sometimes people have a way of centering themselves in other people's narrative.
Mm-hmm.
You're in charge of your narrative, not theirs.
That's
You're
it.
in charge of their narrative.
So sure.
But it gets to this point where the idea of survivor's guilt, sometimes we're upset with the decisions we have to make to get to the higher self.
Yeah.
It's not just always about, the idea of somebody doing something to us and us just releasing that frustration. Sometimes it's just the idea of, first of all, everybody's not like the idea that everybody's not in alignment with you is so important that I need people like to genuinely understand that people only have one life to live. They are trying to figure it out just like you are.
Yeah.
And so the decisions that we need to make for ourselves to get to the highest version of ourselves, those decisions sometimes weigh on us. Sometimes we're upset with the friendships we had to let go. Sometimes we're upset with, the relationships we couldn't be in. Sometimes we're upset with, the opportunities we couldn't take and the things we didn't get to go to. And,
Right.
All the different things that it costs to be who you are.
True.
But even in releasing that, you put so much, like the idea of energy being focused on the past is so disempowering.
Yeah.
Once you get your lessons,
Move on from it.
You
Move
know,
on. It's so important.
just
Yeah.
get the lesson and go, because your ego, like, is looking for a time machine or something.
Yeah.
You know, like, your
Yeah.
ego is like, I gotta figure this out. They ain't no way in the world. Somebody created electricity before. I just know somebody got a time machine. I'm about to go back and figure this out, because ain't no way in hell. Like,
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
you know, like, no,
No.
no. So, just moving through your seasons where you understand, um, you have to put your time and energy into the things that you are writing. Like, a lot of us are in duality of being parents. It's not just your story you're writing, you're a character in their story in an important way that you're not going to be a character in a lot of other people's story.
For sure.
You know, and so then writing the narrative for multiple stories at a time, do you have the capacity for that? A lot of people are struggling, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people are struggling. So when you're having to make these sacrifices to try to balance it and, do the best you can in each area, um, you want to drop a phone or something? I know each and every one of us that like to carry all the grocery bags in the house at the same time, drop a bag at least a couple times from time to time. You do. You
Every
do.
time.
You're not gonna make it seem like
Yeah.
every single time you never drop them ever.
Them lettuce heads, balls
Like,
of lettuce and
something
fell
gonna get
out.
dropped
Everything.
eventually
Yes.
from time to time. It
For
just
sure.
happens.
Yeah.
Like, it just happens.
Yeah.
But taking accountability, moving forward, being able to put yourself in a position where, I think sometimes we make life serious in a way where we don't unclench our fist enough to play, to forgive ourselves, to
Yeah.
reframe our mind, to show up as somebody different. We don't allow flexibility.
Right.
We have this way of framing ourselves in one way, and then just being like, I have to figure out how to show up as this.
Yeah.
And so that's not very forgiving of your former self. So,
No, for sure. For
you know
sure.
and so in that, the whole idea of survivor's guilt, just be gentle with yourself in a way of understanding, as long as I'm getting the lessons, holding myself accountable, and applying what I know going forward, then it's
Yes.
okay to release, whatever's in the past. Like, it's
True
okay,
enough.
because ultimately speaking, you can't go back there. And if you're going to spend time rewriting your narrative, then you need all you got for that.
Right. And a lot of times the big issue is when we try to rewrite our past, or we spend so much time trying to discover, okay, well, but why did they do this, and why did this have to happen like this? The issue why we can't get out of that cycle is there are other people that play roles in those stories of our past, and they have the answers that we don't have. Well, why did this person back then do this to me? You will never know why they did this to you. One, because you didn't do it, they did, and they have the answer for why, and they probably won't ever give it to you. And so you will spin that loop of, it's. I look at it like TV shows. Sometimes we're we're the main character, but then there's the people that come into our lives that they do the guest appearance show, and then oh, look at so and so, and then we don't see them no more, or they come through once a season for that one little thing, like
Cameo.
they do the little cameo pop up. I think of it like a Norm on Cheers. Norm coming at Cheers, Norm,
Yeah.
and no one else does that but Norm when he walks through the door. That's the thing he does. That's his role. There's characters like that. I remember Frasier. Frasier was on Cheers at the end of, or towards the end of Cheers. Then he goes off and he has his own thing where he went from a side character, because the main story of Cheers is the bar owner and the girl that he's in love with the entire series of the show. Frasier plays a small role of a side character, but then he gets his own show. Now he's the main character with side characters. We're all playing either main characters or side characters or cameos or guest spots, and I think sometimes we get frustrated, like you say, with the idea of, well, why isn't this role as prominent as this role? Why does this role not feel as good as this role? It's like when I do acting and I tell people, hey, I just want you to come on screen and you go die. And everybody be so mad. No, why I gotta be the person that died? And I'm like, but you being the person that dies helps fuel the rest of this story, because this one death is going to make this person do this. Your death is going to make this person react. Your death is going to make this situation happen. So it's a short role to be like, hey, it's me, and then you get killed. But what the effect of your role will affect so much more things. And if you can appreciate, hey, I just get on here for, I got a 5 second role or a 5 minute role, but my 5 minute role plays such a key, crucial part to the larger picture that happens. I think you can appreciate, okay, this person was in my life for just a season. I'm not mad that they're gone. I appreciate what they did for in their season, and that's it. So let's get to point five.
Yeah, because you circle right to it.
Uh
Circle
oh.
right to it. So that goes with identifying your gifts.
Okay.
Because when you're looking at the different things and events in your life,
Right.
the things that did work out, the things that didn't, the data of those experiences is ultimately showing you where your gifts are.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like the things that are quirky about you, the things that are weird, the things that are, cool, the thing like all these different things about who you are make up, your gifts and skills. So as you're navigating your journey, you're taking inventory of what those things are.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it'll help you understand why situations didn't go the way you wanted it to, or
Right.
the way you thought they would. Sometimes they do go the way you thought they would.
Right.
And so having inventory of your gifts empowers you as well, because now you're able to leverage them. We was talking about the idea of, you see in the superhero movies, they discover that they have powers, and when the powers first happen to them, they are messing the entire town up.
Yes.
Like just messing everything up. They have no idea how to use their skills or gifts
Right.
at all. They just like they're destruction, pandemonium, like
Terrible.
everywhere.
Very terrible. Not a hero.
And they have to go through this process of
Yes.
learning to yield, and control,
Yeah.
what they've been given possession of.
Right.
And so in that you figure out that you have to submit yourself to this process.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you have to go play. Now you have to forgive yourself for making mistakes. Now you have
Yeah.
to take inventory of all these other things that we were talking about.
Yep.
And so, just in the grand scheme of navigating through transitions, it's like once you understand what your skills are, now you can play the game.
Yeah.
Now you can play the game. Once you figure out what character you are in any given room,
Yeah.
now you can play the game.
Yep.
Now you have leverage. Now you have an awareness that you can, position yourself for, abundance, servitude,
True.
all these different, avenues that you can take in life. And so for me, understanding what my skills are helped me to validate myself.
Mm-hmm.
Which is another thing, that's important to the process, learning how to get validation from within.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding where I'm particularly skilled at naturally, what things I'm kind of good at but can use some development, what things are
Right.
not my bag. Like it helps you be able to shape how you navigate your path. Now you know what
True.
to stay away from, you know what to go toward.
Exactly.
So now you can start to answer those questions you have for yourself about how do I get out of this.
Mhm.
So now you're understanding why it's important to play, because if you don't play, you can't understand what your gifts and skills are.
Right.
If you don't know what your gifts and skills are, you have no roadmap.
This is true.
And so when answering the question of how to get through transitions, you have to, reparent and rehumanize yourself.
Come on.
You have to give yourself permission to play. You have to
Come
be able to shape shift. You have
Come
to
on.
forgive, yourself for the decisions and the faults that you make along the way,
Yep.
so that you can identify your gifts, and then you can have a roadmap for where you need to go to get to your point of destination. So, I really just wanted to kind of sit down and answer that question.
No.
For
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
That's what I've been working on.
For sure.
That's the thing that I've been trying to work towards perfection at. And you understand that in this human experience, the things about you that you don't get right, some of your flaws, are going to help shape your story too, and not always in negative ways. People
True.
are going to remember the quirky things about you. People are going to remember the
Yes.
things about you that you thought were goofy and silly.
Yep.
People are going to have these different ways, of identifying you, but it's ultimately up to you to write the narrative. So,
That's true.
You can show up, you can participate, or you can take a more passive route in your life, because understandably transitions and challenges are hard.
They are.
These things that, we're talking about, this list of things is not an easy feat. I simplified the list, but it's
Right.
not an easy thing to do.
No,
These
for
are
sure.
things
It
that,
takes time.
the average person takes a lifetime to do.
Man.
So, I'm someone who's very open to conversation. If these are things people want to have more dialogue about, if these are things people feel like they need more insight about, you can hit me up. I'm a very open conversational person. Outside of that, like I said, I'm just an ordinary,
Yeah.
person. I'm the person that people call when they really just need to talk through some things and get a
Right.
perspective that's going to help, empower them to navigate forward. If you're going to fail forward. If you're going to,
Yeah.
stumble forward. So it's just in this idea that we all have, our idea of personal success.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your vision looks like. I don't know exactly what you picture in your mind when you say, I want that.
Right.
But if I do have something that can help you get there, then I'm not stingy.
Yeah. No, for
I'm not
sure.
stingy. So yeah, hit me up. Other than that, I appreciate you.
No,
I really do.
listen. Give us show some love. Show some love, y'all. Porsche that came through with the gems and the body butter, by the way. They came through with the gems and the body butter. But I so appreciate just you coming through with the amount of insight that you have. I think that for anyone watching or listening, that it is imperative to take heed when people have been given assignments to speak. And for you to have come with the assignment to speak and give is so imperative to take what you said and digest it, because it is, all of us are going through transitions. Whether we are at the beginning of it, in the middle of it, towards the end of it, we're all in transitions, and we need to have some type of roadmap to either guide us. Because again, it's just like I said earlier. Sometimes I could take everything all these people told me about marriage, but I'm still gonna have to walk it out myself. But at least if I have roadmaps, I have all these points. I have the 5 points that you gave. Now when I feel something or I sense something, I can look and say, okay, does this line up with this? Great. Now I know what to do. Where I think a lot of us will go through life with no roadmap, and we're not sure why we're feeling a certain way. We don't know how to identify what this is that we're experiencing. And so I thank you that you came with these points and tips that will help us
Observe your feelings
identify
without
us.
judgment. I'll say that. You just made me think about that when you said that. Observe your emotions without judgment.
Yeah.
It's important for you to get the information behind them.
Yeah.
Observe them without judgment, not because they don't have any kind of positive or negative connotations, but because that's not important to the mission of getting the information you need to progress through it. So I'll just add that in.
Indeed.
Other than that, on the body butter, I
Yeah.
this little formula,
Yeah.
when I was in Arizona, my daughter and her father, they struggle really bad with eczema. The air is admittedly drier there,
Mhm.
and so is something that their skin was lacking a lot of hydration. It was breaking out. They were having frequent, situations. So I started looking up some ingredients. I put a formula together, and at first, it was something that every time the temperature fluctuated, it was soft, it was hard, it was soft, it was hard. So it was
Okay.
something that I was like kind of working on perfecting. And so I finally got it to a texture that I really love. I finally, got it to something that I feel is beneficial, is consistent.
Okay.
I have been able to resolve diaper rashes in 24 to 48 hours. I've been able to, stay hydrated. I've been able to, people be telling me I'm glistening, and so I've just been kind of experimenting. I really like to do a lot of different things. We was talking
Okay.
about the whole DIY,
Yeah.
being creative and playing.
Mm-hmm.
I love to do a lot of different creative things. So the body butter is something I enjoy. It is something that I feel is effective. So if it's beneficial to you and you would love to place an order, then you can definitely hit me up on Facebook. It is Porsha Robinson or Porsha Out Loud on Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, that's what that's about. Thank you.
Yeah. Listen, we had to let people know about the butter because I'm gonna tell y'all about it because she gave me something. So, but again, thank you so much for being a part of this, and hopefully you come back and share some more. Shout out to my sponsor, Sean P over at Yaktown Don't Back Down, 18 East Lawrence, Pontiac, Michigan. Y'all, shout out to him. Check out the merch. My boy got good merch. I got the shirt right here, Gardens Grow Silently. That's a whole podcast right there. That phrase alone. So shout out to him. We'll be definitely, you guys will be seeing this after, but we are going to have the Reintroduction 2 concert May 31st at his store. So it's gonna be a ton of dope artists that's there that's gonna be performing, and so hopefully you guys get to see the highlights of that and stuff. But I appreciate all of you guys for listening, tuning into this debuting episode of this podcast that I hope is beneficial and helpful to anyone who listens to it that's looking for some kind of insight and guidance to help them better navigate the journey of the in between, the space in between their trauma and their healing. And so appreciate you guys. Portia, thank you again for coming through.
Thank you.
Crowd in there. They all behind the camera. Y'all can't see them. All the people cheering right there. But we appreciate y'all, and we will catch you guys on another episode. Until then, peace.